Concentration.
Stopping.
Okay.
Impulse control.
So I heard it.
Impulse control.
Impulse control. Have you ever played or seen someone play red light, green light?
Yeah.
Impulse control. If you've ever done any kind of stop and go kind of game, that teaches impulse control. So important.
We do Spirit Says all the time.
Perfect. Yes, as Simon says, Spirit says, impulse control is so important to help develop these skills. Because I know a lot of adults, including the one in the mirror, that has problems sometimes. Uh-oh. Okay. Let's go back. Okay. So here's some basics. Discipline is relationship specific. What does that mean? That means that most of us, when we were kids, had an adult that we knew that we could get away with anything, right? That means that, like, whenever I went to my grandma's house, I got to have red lollipops and chocolate, everything I was not allowed to have at my parents' house. It's relationship specific. So depending on the connection that you have with someone, that is, have you ever seen someone and you're like, that's not how they act with me at all. What the heck? So like sometimes our kids will act a certain way and you can see it with different people. You're like, what? And as a teacher, it's like kids will act differently with one teacher than with another. And it's like, what does that teacher have? I mean, because you want, as a teacher, a lot of times you want to say, oh, it's the kid. Fix that kid. Go fix that kid. I'll send them out. And then you fix them and bring them back to me, and then we'll be all good. No, guess what? It's relationship specific. So no matter how many times you kick them out, they're going to come back to you. So it is you. So we believe that adults change, for instance, an adult model, an adult change model. You cannot make anybody change. You can only work on yourself. You can only model the behavior that you wish they had and hope for the best, really. Send them love and wish them well. Children change as a response to the adult behavior. May I share? Okay. So, as I stated before, I was a yeller. And after one particularly gory episode to me, I spent the whole day in my emotional state crying because this was terrible and I'm the worst mother in the world. I was like, there has to be a better way. I cannot do this anymore. Our relationship was like fractured, and I was like, and it was about grades. And I was just using the tools in my parental toolbox because that's what my mother did. And I said, this is not working. Like, if he is some brilliant brain surgeon or something, and he doesn't talk to me, and I'm not allowed to see my grandchildren, what have I done? Like, I don't care. I just want to have a relationship with him. So that's when I really did a deep dive into conscious discipline, because I knew it was me. I knew that it was me. And the more I dug into it and really looked, the more I found out it really was me. And now I would say that our relationship is probably better than it's ever been. So thank you for being the catalyst and teaching me that I had to change, and it was not your fault. So thank you. So we have to work on ourselves first. The adults must be calm. The first few times that I didn't yell at him, he said he was scared. Because he knew what to expect when I yelled. But I was really trying to rein it in. And so I was like, and he's like, are you okay? This is scary. Yes, I'm trying a new way. So, and if you've ever flown before, they'll say, put your own oxygen mask on before you try to help other people. Same concept. Children cannot behave differently until we see them differently. if you are, this is where some of the powers and the skills come in. I'll talk to Vanessa, I'll do another class on powers and skills later on, but if you see a child doing something and your immediate response is, I cannot believe that. First of all, where are you? You're emotional. I can't believe he did that. Let me tell you what he did. That was so disrespectful. The child can't behave differently until you see that situation differently. Wish them well, send them love. As Vanessa was saying, the prayer buddies. Wish them well and say, wow, that kid is doing the best that they possibly can with the tools that they have. Maybe they only have access to kicking and yelling. That's all they have. They must be taught. Okay, so if you have unwanted behavior, describe the behavior like a camera. So anything that a camera can capture, that is how you will describe the behavior. No adjectives, because adjectives are judgments, and cameras cannot capture adjectives. A camera, if you take a picture, it cannot capture good or bad. It cannot capture disrespectful. It cannot capture the words that teachers tend to use to describe children. It's all about the teacher. If you're using adjectives, that is all about you and your emotional state. A camera can capture Johnny approached Susie and pulled her hair. No adjectives. In response, Susie turned around and kicked him in the shins. No adjectives. That's what a camera can record. What a camera cannot record is, ooh, he walked over there with malice in his heart and he just yanked on this just to test me. Just because he knows that that's one of my buttons. And then she turns around, she should have. She kicked him right in the shin. I wish she'd have kicked him in both shins. What you're doing as you are judging that situation is you are robbing the children of being able to see themselves as their best selves. So, you could say to Johnny, oh, make something up that's good. Oh, you wanted to get Susie's attention, so you walked over and you pulled her hair. And then Susie, oh, you wanted Johnny to stop pulling your hair, so you turned around and you kicked him. And then you deal with it from there. But you always want to attribute positive intent. Yes?
Would it be labeling if you said Susie didn't like, would that be projecting? Okay, so then don't use like and...
Not yet. That's what you ask Susie. Did you like it when Johnny pulled your hair? No. Tell Johnny, I don't like it when you pull my hair. When you want my attention, what would you rather have him do instead? Say my name. Oh, so tell him, when you want my attention, say my name. Now practice. So practice. Are you good with that? Are you good with that, Johnny? I can do that. Awesome. So you deal with each one as it comes up, but if it's a situation where it's like an intrusion, you would ask them. Because we have no idea. Everything everything is making it up anyway. So you can't say she didn't like it unless you ask her. Because we have no idea. That's why we always try to make up the best case scenario in our head, and in order for that child to see themselves as the best them that they can possibly be. So when you describe that behavior, so let's say it's Johnny's behavior, flip it. Okay, you don't want him to pull her hair. What do you want? Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do, Because all you can think about is what they're not doing. Like, oh, I just don't want them, I just don't want them to pull her hair. Okay, what do you want? That's hard to think about sometimes because we're so focused on that behavior that we don't like. So flip it. Create the picture in your mind of what you would like to see. What is safe behavior for Johnny? And then decide what's the missing executive skill. It could be attention. It could be impulse control. It could be flexibility if she's doing something that he doesn't like. And then which skill coordinates with the behavior that you want to see. So if you want to see Johnny ask for her attention, then that's a whole bunch of executive skills that you know you need to teach. And sometimes they can't be taught in the moment because you can only teach executive skills when you have that foundation of the lower brain centers. So then you would build a teaching plan with Vanessa and your teaching family to teach those missing skills. So this is what we're going to look at. The physical, if you see physical behaviors like that and like that, that's when we're going to use the acronym NARCS. And then power struggles and disrespect, that's going to be a connection issue. And that's when we'll use the acronym REJECT. Okay, so you're going to paint a picture for them in their minds. Like, sit safely so that your friends have room and you have room. That creates a picture in their mind. Sit crisscross applesauce with your hands in your lap like this. Line up so that you have space, so that you are not touching your friend in front or behind. Paint a picture in their mind so that they can see it. Remember, these are building blocks. They have to build on each other. Okay, so here's the NARCS. NARCS stands for noticing. That is what we were saying. Describe what you see. Your face is going like this. Your hands are balled up like this. Have you ever noticed that sometimes people can tell you stuff that you don't know about yourself? You don't know what your face is doing, and they're like, "What's wrong with you?" And you're like, "What are you talking about?" Well, your face is going like this. It is? Oh. Sometimes it's totally out of our realm of consciousness. The assertiveness of the adult is so important in a calm manner. So communicate clearly what you do want to see. Keep all four legs of the chair on the floor so that you are safe and your friends are safe. Routines and pictures. Pictures are great. Make sure that the kids know what they are looking at and what is expected of them. That is so important. You need to know, just like you guys experienced in the first brain break, the Brain Smart Start. You need to know what's expected of you, or else you're just flailing along, and that can look like hyperactivity. Composure. You've got to stay calm. When people aren't calm, there is no safety. And then, of course, safety, the language of safety. Helpful, hurtful, safe, unsafe. I am your safe keeper. It's my job to keep you safe. It's your job to help keep it safe. And so the routines and the structures, the structures are what are put into place to remind us of the power we're supposed to and the skills that we can access. So the safe place says, you can manage your emotions. We're here to help you. We're here to coach you through it, but you can handle this. You've got this. The safe keeper, like I said, my job is to keep you safe. Your job is to help keep it safe. Heart agreements and visual routines are important because they're consistent. So the prayer buddies are just an extension of wish wells. So that's perfect. And then, of course, the language of safety. It builds that foundation. And then reject. If they're in blue, They flip their lid and you see blue. Rituals, connection. Did you notice that when you were trying to do the songs, you started laughing with your partner? Connection is 4 components of connection. Everyone do this with me. Eye contact, touch, presence, and playfulness. That is what the components of connection are. And you guys were doing it beautifully. You were modeling it so beautifully.
Can I just say
yes,
something about why you do
absolutely.
that with us? Because I tell the kids this, because a lot of times in Sunday school, you know, the kids, I don't want to be here. We had one today who said, I'd rather be at home playing video games. But what I tell them, the reason why we want them to do the motions with us is because that helps wake up the brain. That helps us feel more connected inside.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, that makes for better connection in our setting. But,
Connections on the outside,
yeah,
grow connections on the inside.
yeah.
Exactly. Thank you.
But they just so often don't want to do
Right.
the rituals and the motions, and it makes such a difference in their feeling more connected.
Yes, true. Encouragement, accepting kids for who they are. And I think you guys, especially like Unity in general, does a beautiful job of that, of encouragement and accepting kids for who they are and how they come to you. Jobs are really important because it's being of service. Serving your community helps them. And that's what Vanessa was saying as well with the little guy who, when you have a job, you feel responsible for your group, your tribe. And you are going to, therefore, feel more connected. Empathy, of course. Teaches regulation and integrates the brain so that children can take responsibility for their actions. How many times have you heard people say, he just blames everybody else, it's never his fault, never. Sometimes empathy helps with that. Choices, they aid in cooperation and they help children focus their attention. Okay, it's time to get dressed. Do you want to put on your pants first or your shirt first? Which one works for you? Focus. And the church family, the T in the church family. Referring to your class as a church family or a class family, it will lay the foundation for all of their connection needs. Okay, and then the structure for this, the friends and family board, say we all belong. Greeting and goodbye rituals say that you matter. Connecting rituals, you are worthy of my time. They take presence and they take time and energy. Teacher to child and child to child. The jobs, the We Care Center, and the Wish Well. Self-regulation, this is fascinating. Self-regulation begins in the right hemisphere. So talking does not work, especially for children under 8. Because they do not have internal language yet. So, anytime that you can incorporate music, play, art, movement, visuals to talk to that right hemisphere, that will increase your chances of success. 100%. Almost all discipline issues, problems, questions can be solved and answered with safety and connection. Once you take care of those, the other one kind of goes by itself. Okay, now we're going to do an executive state check. We're going to see if you're in your executive state. So everybody stand up. Only do this exercise if you are in your executive state. If you're thinking about the grocery list or what happened yesterday, you will mess up terribly. And it's always a pleasure to watch people catch up to that. It's great. Okay, so this game is, you make sure that you move so that you have enough room, your friends have enough room, and you can see me. It's kind of like Simon Says, kind of, but it's a step behind. So you're going to follow me. I'm going to do a movement, and then you are going to wait. And then I'm going to do the next movement, and then you are going to do the movement that I just did. Great. Okay, so for instance, we'll do a practice round. If I go like this, you do nothing. And then I go like this, and then you do that. So you are one step behind me. Maybe I'll try to be mindful of condor arms. Presence. It takes presence. Okay. All right. So are we ready?
Sorry.
Okay. So working memory, all these executive skills, attention. Okay.
Does this have a name? What is this called?
Delayed
The
time
green.
set.
Follow the leader.
Got it. Yeah, yeah.
Follow the leader a step
Follow
behind.
the leader, yeah.
Okay.
Step behind Simon.
Awesome. You guys got better. You can sit down now. Do you notice that in order to be successful at that game, you have got to be present? Because if you're not present, you're like, what are we doing? Where? Which one is she on? All right. So review. We're almost done. Woo. All behavior is communication. Your job is to address the brain state. So the brain state dictates the behavior, and you address the brain state, and you will see different behavior. So remember which brain state you are seeing, and to get yourself back to the executive state so you're able to see the behavior differently, and then the behavior will change in response. So, 4 steps for behavior change. Describe, flip, identify, build. Describe the behavior. Flip it. What do you want instead? Identify the missing executive skill. And then build a teaching plan. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to think of one question in your mind from all that you've learned today. Think of one question, and then share it with the person sitting next to you. I'll give you 30 seconds to think. If you're finished before then, if you're both finished before then, you may share it. And if you don't have a question, you can share something that you learned. We're sharing either a question that we had, and you're sharing it with someone near you, or something that you learned or was refreshed in your mind.
Okay.
Turtles all the way down. It's like the concept that the earth is being held up on top of elephants, and then tons and tons of turtles. So there's not a void of space. There's like a platform somewhere up there, but it's just turtles all the way to that platform.
If you can hear my voice, put your finger here. If you can hear my voice, put your finger here. If you can hear my voice, put your finger here. All right, so when you were discussing with your partner, if something caught your attention, sometimes discussing it and talking about questions or what you've learned really sparks something in your mind. So if you guys have, we've got about 10 minutes, so tell me what you heard. And sometimes you can be like, oh, well, I thought I had this question, but my partner really brought up a great question, and we want to.
We didn't get to switch. Did everybody switch?
switch? Okay, so I'm gonna give you a minute to continue your discussion or share something that you learned, and then you can switch. Okay, go.
It doesn't. That's why it's turtles all the way down. There is no technical ground. It's turtles. Infinite turtle instead of infinite space. Yeah, it's turtle shit. They got four. Fill out in the place. That one, that's an actual.
If you can hear my voice, put your finger here. If you can hear my voice, put your finger here. If you can hear my voice, put your finger here. Thank you. Okay, so tell me your questions. Amari.
What if you don't want to be in the blue and go straight to red?
Okay, so thank you for reminding me. What we found, what research says, is that kids who are brought up in trauma actually have a reversal of this. So because they never feel safe, like ever, what they do is they flip it around. This is hard to describe, but they flip it so that they're like if I had the brain up here, I would just have them turn around. So what happens is red is the one leading the show.
All the time, you're saying?
All the time, yeah, for kids who in trauma,
Yeah.
who grow up in trauma. So like your executive state is the one that is supposed to lead the train. Like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. And that is in service to connection and in service to safety. So what happens is it gets flipped. And then red, survival, is like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And they use connection and all of their executive skills in service to safety. So they're like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to, we can't eat, so we're going to rob the store. And every single moment of brilliance that they have is used to foster survival.
That's a coping skill, isn't
I
it?
think
Yes.
I heard a guy stated as whenever he robbed someone, he didn't see them as a person, he saw them as an opportunity. So you're not a person anymore. You're
That
just
is-
a way to eat.
Yeah.
And that is,
People do that all the time.
I was just thinking, Keisha, that it's like adults with personality disorders and
Yeah,
certain
that's what I
mental
was just
health
thinking.
disorders.
Oh,
that-
exactly.
And that's why we're like, it's very hard to connect with those
Right.
people, and we can't figure out why sometimes.
right.
I'm gonna put myself kind of out there as a procrastinator.
Oh,
I tend to do that when I do have, when I lose that green part of myself. The red tends to dictate when I have a hard time prioritizing. I tend to go, oh crap, what is due today? Because I don't want to get fired, so I need to do this now because I cannot get in trouble. And everything, instead of saying, let me plan ahead for the next month, what I have to prioritize, it's like, no, what's due right now because I can't get fired.
So it's a great example because all of your smarts and your brilliance are used in service of surviving that job, as opposed to if you felt safe and did it ahead of time, then you could really use your brilliance to be creative. A lot of times our creativity is stifled when we're in service or survival. Like, I just have to just do it bare minimum so that I don't get canned.
And it's that adrenaline also that gets me going. Sometimes I've wait for the last minute because I get it done anyway. Like, I thrive on that. It's awful on that, like, I know I'll get it done somehow and I'll just do it and it'll be fine. But it's so stressful, like, to have to do paperwork or whatever and running on that fear of, like, oh my gosh, is this gonna happen?
And that cortisol that
All of
pumps
that
into your body.
stress.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes. Linnea.
In the same way that survival can sometimes govern certain people, can it be the same thing for emotional?
Yeah, absolutely. If you haven't had survival trauma, there's lots of ways that you can have emotional trauma, and then have everything. People who suffered abandonment, for instance. Every single thing that they are going to do, and it's this unconscious complex that comes up, and it's like, oh, they're turning everything into a rejection or abandonment issue. So they're like, oh, I gotta use all my green so that I don't get left, so that I don't get rejected, so that I don't get abandoned. No. So that definitely can happen. Any of them, any of the three can be leading the show at any given time, depending on what's happening.
About the emotional guiding, like the other two parts of the brain, like in cases of extreme anxiety attacks and panic attacks, it is like the exact, like when the not the limbic system, when the frontal cortex is flying off the handle, that's what an anxiety and panic attack is. And so it's like really interesting because the emotions are still leading the survival, and it hits a place of like extreme emotional intensity without any frontal cortex to navigate that and sort of like.
And that's when you stand back here and you're like,
survival aspect of
dude,
it.
I have all the answers. Like,
Yeah.
let's
And so
talk.
I learned about this in a class about like anxiety disorders and stuff, and it's really interesting because one of the easiest ways in, especially with the uniteens, because I know that we have some uniteens who have some anxieties and like some actual like possibilities of attacks on retreats especially, or that sort of situation, is there's like immediate fixes. Things like, what time is it? What's the day of the week?
So
Those
what
are
is
things
that
can
doing?
Only be active
What is that
in the
doing?
frontal cortex.
What's that doing?
Um,
What those questions? Those
Hydra.
questions. No, those.
Focus, right?
Yeah, focus
Focus.
and grounding.
But remember what you have to be for that green game. What do you have to be?